So it's time to go ahead and talk about one of the tried and true devices that I use in my daily life almost every single day. And this is the 2021 M1 Pro MacBook Pro. And let's see how this thing has been holding up basically for I think like a year that I've owned it. But I did buy it day one when it came out. And I will tell you, this is still a killer machine in so many different ways. Although it came out maybe like a year and a half ago as of this point, it's funny, we already had the successor of this MacBook come out very, basically like early this year or something. So I will still tell you this MacBook is still an amazing, MacBook for sure. It has so much capability. I've been personally using this thing, like I said, for like a year now, I think, and it's given me such a solid experience, and I love this thing a lot. If you want to pick it up on Amazon, you can check out the links in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off with the outside, to give you a history lesson, I was actually coming from my M1 MacBook Pro before this one, and I was a little hesitant on upgrading. I knew I was going to upgrade at some point, but I just kind of kept going back and forth. I did buy an M1 Pro MacBook Pro, but then that thing basically, I couldn't get my Google Calendar or my Apple Calendar to sync up well, and then I had this issue and I had to return it. But I ended up repurchasing one, I think last year, and I ended up loving this thing. My M1 MacBook Pro was amazing, and I really loved having an upgraded machine compared to that one. And within the Apple ecosystem, it's so easy to transfer from one MacBook to the other. So this thing was a very easy thing to kind of transfer to. Now, on the display front, you are getting that 14.2 inch Liquid Retina XDR display, whatever they call it. And it's an excellent panel. Now, do I notice it being a way better panel than my M1 MacBook Pro? To be honest, this is something that surprised me. When I initially saw the Apple keynotes, I thought it was going to be a big deal and a thing I would notice every day. It really wasn't. I don't even notice, I know it's 120 Hertz, but I think I've just kind of gotten used to it now. I don't really think about it being way smoother than my M1 MacBook Pro, but every so often I do boot up that MacBook and I do notice how much of a difference it is, but I guess you just get kind of used to it. Even the notch on this display really isn't that big of a difference, but I do notice that it is actually a noticeably bigger display, which is actually super nice. I would always kind of see that with my M1 MacBook Pro. It did seem a little bit too small for me. This one seems like the perfect size. It's not too big, it's not too small. It's right in the middle, and that is something I love about this 14-inch MacBook that I have, but you can also go up to that 16-inch MacBook Pro if you want to as well, if you want a bigger size and a little bit of a bigger battery life. So you have that type of flexibility between these two. Now, you're getting that same full-size keyboard, which is really nice, the speaker grills on the side, and that trackpad at the very bottom. The keyboard still works fine. There's been no issues on my side at all. The trackpad still works fine too, so I don't have any issues from those specific standpoints at all. So from the hardware perspective on the display and on the bottom half, still hold up very well. Like I said, I haven't had any issues whatsoever on the display front or on the keyboard front yet. Now, the port selection is something that is also very, very amazing. So I know when Apple released this thing in 2021, I was waiting to get my hands on it because of the SD card slot. On my M1 MacBook Pro I came from before, I would always have to use a dongle and I would always have to plug in my SD card, and it really wasn't even that big of a deal. I was kind of used to it, to be honest, and I really didn't even, when this MacBook came out, I was excited to upgrade to it, but then there was a while where I returned that older one and I was like, it really wasn't that big of a difference. But then when I came back to it, I was so excited to have it again, and it is a really big difference. If you're somebody who uses an SD card a lot and you're constantly plugging it in and out of a dongle, if you're, docked up to a, display all the time and you already have a dock set up for an SD card, it's not going to make a difference at all. That's kind of how I had it on my personal machine. But if you're on the go all the time and you are plugging in and out SD cards and you need a, SD card on your MacBook, this is a no-brainer in my opinion. It is a very good machine from that perspective, and that is something I love about my MacBook as well. Now on top of this, you're getting 3 USB-C ports, which is really cool. You're getting a USB-C port on both sides, which I think is something that's really cool. My M1 MacBook Pro only had USB-C ports on one side, which was kind of annoying. Because then if you had to charge your MacBook, or if you had to do something on one side of the Mac, you had to use the ports on the one side of the MacBook over and over again, which was kind of annoying. And some devices you may have may be too big to actually, use 2 different USB-C ports at the same time. So you had to unplug one to use the other one. It was just kind of a mess. You're also getting an HDMI port on your MacBook too, which I don't really care too much about. I use it maybe once or twice, but I try to typically use Thunderbolt ports so I can plug it into a USB-C monitor so it charges my MacBook at the same time. And on top of that, you are also getting a MagSafe port. So that is something that, if you want it, go for it. I have used it before. I don't typically use it on my MacBooks that much because like I said, I typically have it docked up to a display, like a Thunderbolt display. So I don't really have to worry about it because it already charges my MacBook for me. Speaking about the display aspect, this is still something that is just kind of confuses me so much. On the M1 MacBooks, and I do think actually on some M2 models as well, you can only dock it up to one display. You cannot have a dual display, aspect to your specific devices. And that is something that really probably irked me more than anything else. I would have loved to have like a dual screen device when I was using my M1 MacBook Pro, but I just couldn't. So I would use my Thunderbolt display, my 5K, display that I use on my M1 MacBook Pro, and then I would have that, the universal control method on a different 5K iMac. So I would do that as kind of like a dual screen thing, but it just wouldn't even really work that well, and it would have so many glitches. With my M1 MacBook Pro, my M1 Pro MacBook Pro, I don't have to deal with that anymore. I can just actually plug in, and I do actually plug in my other HDMI monitor, so maybe I do use the HDMI port a little bit more now, but I plug in that monitor straight into my, MacBook Pro, and I plug in a different monitor inside of this one too. So now I can use dual screens if I want to, which is so cool. Previously, you couldn't do that, which was crazy, but now you can, which is so awesome. Now, with this specific MacBook, I use it for everything. I use it for video editing and literally everything else. I've gamed so much in this last year, it's not even funny. Well, not really game, just some emulation testing and stuff like that. And there has been so much improvement in the Apple Silicon department for gaming and also with emulation. So I'm not even gonna get into details, but I've been doing a lot of that. And it is so much fun. And this MacBook, even my M1 MacBook Pro could have handled it. But this MacBook breezes through everything I throw at it from that perspective. I'm not somebody who needs a lot of power. And I'm not somebody who, even though I edit a lot of videos, I don't really edit like 10K videos. It's just like 1080p, like it's just whatever. So from that perspective, this is a really good MacBook for me. It handles everything I throw at it. And it is honestly one of my most favorite machines. So it's really good because these things have gone down in value so much. So from the performance segment, it is just amazing. Yeah, I don't really think you can do that much better than this thing in like the Mac department for this price in the used market and on Amazon. It's the M1 Pro model that I have, but you can also get up the M1 Max model if you want. I have 16 gigabytes of RAM here, but you can get up to 64 gigabytes of RAM, which is crazy. And you can get even up to 8 terabytes of storage, which is also just phenomenal. So getting that type of capability, getting that type of performance from this type of MacBook is amazing. And when I look at this type of device, that in and of itself is just amazing to me. So overall, what I'll definitely tell you is the M1 Pro MacBook is just amazing. It is one of my most favorite devices. I don't really plan on upgrading from this thing for a long time. I mean, I haven't even thought about upgrading at all. And it's funny because with my M1 MacBook Pro, I would sometimes think about upgrading. I would be like, I love this MacBook, but I do feel like I could get a better one. And with this one, I actually do feel like I could potentially get the same MacBook over and over again. Like if this one breaks, I would just buy another M1 Pro MacBook. If that one broke, I would just buy another one. Like this has been an amazing MacBook. I'm such a huge fan of it. And that in and of itself makes me so happy to actually use a MacBook like this for sure. So in terms of that kind of covers up my experience with this MacBook for the last year or so. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.